tell you about myself. I have 4 kids. I used to do some video games back in the day, and it's still going strong now with my fans and still doing a lot of stuff with it. I knew I wanted to model, and I knew I wanted to get into production. And I always had a love for being behind the camera, as well as in front of it. My sister, my older sister, Jody, I was doing some modeling shoots with her, and then she started shooting with Playboy, and I happened to be over at her house down in Florida when she was doing a shoot and just watching, and then the photographer and the producer looked at me and goes, "Do you want to do the next one?" And I'm like, "What?" So I got into hair and makeup, and then that was it. I started doing a lot of modeling for Playboy. And then I got to meet the art director, and we started talking, and he realized that I was a creative and started asking me, would you like to accompany me on this shoot? And I started doing hair and makeup for him, and then I started doing styling and some producing for the specials, and was actually working in the office. And there was one day where I was editing photos, throwing the bad ones out, and the phone rang. And the girl that I worked with, she said, "Kerri, you want to take this? It's a weird call. I don't know what they're talking about." So it was actually Jack Hager from Midway. And he was looking for a couple cheerleaders for this game called NBA Jam. And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." Never have cheerleaded in my life. I was always the girl in the art room, just staying to myself and being shy. Never would ever cheerlead. I was way too shy for that. So he says, "Bring a friend along." So I asked one of the girls that I knew that was a cheerleader for the Bulls, and I figured, I'll just copy whatever she does. And so we did the shoot, and we had a blast. It was against a green screen, and the game came out, and then they had another game that Jack was working on, and it was called Revolution X with Aerosmith. And we shot that, and I got to shoot for the day with Aerosmith, and that was a blast. So that was a really long shoot. That was like 16 hours long, but we got it all done one day, and the band was only there for a day, and then we got to go and see the concert the next day. So
that's cool. Did you see all the guys?
Yeah, they were in the studio. Steven Tyler was doing some shots for the game and doing some vocals for it. So I was like, from here to you, watching Steven Tyler sing. And it was just like, this is so surreal. So then Mortal Kombat 3 came around, and they were looking for a new Sonya, and they asked me, and that's how that all started.
They are calling it the hottest, most successful fighting game of all time, Mortal Kombat 3. And this is what it looks like.
We knew that we were in the first stages of something that was going to be really big. Mortal Kombat, by the time number 3 came out, it was getting really big. And we knew the conventions, by all the attention that we were getting, that it was really, really escalating. In the very beginning, I didn't have much knowledge of Mortal Kombat, because I wasn't a gamer. And they just told me that it was a martial arts video game. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But I really had no knowledge of martial arts. I had taken some Tang Soo Do. I was like a yellow belt. And I said, as long as you got somebody on the side, that I can copy, I think I can fake my way through it. Back then when we were shooting, it was against a green screen, and these guys were doing pioneer stuff. Everybody was learning, and we were using computers that didn't know how to take in all this information, so it was constantly them trying to, reboot the computers and trying to get the shot. It was always, we had problems with equipment because it just wasn't, you can imagine how much memory we use now. Back then, you're using computers that have 2 gigabytes on it. So we were constantly, working with crashes. So, and I was paid by the hour, so I was like, hey, take your time, no big deal. And everything was just so laid back. We were all learning. We were all just, giving our input, and everybody at Midway was great to work with. The atmosphere at the conventions on stage was really electric. As soon as they would say, you know, we're about to go on in 5 minutes, the crowds would just be all around us. And the live tour was even more electric than that, because we had trained in the Catskill Mountains for 3 months, and it was 12 hours a day. My trainer was Pat Johnson and his son Garth, and you know, he choreographed Mortal Kombat movies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that was really cool that, you know, he was my trainer, but he was really tough. And I was, you know, the yellow belt coming on board with all these black belts, you know, for the tour. The producer wanted me because I was the original character in the game, and I could promote. Nobody ever held back. You know, they all tried to like kick my butt when we were on tour and stuff. It was like I had 20 big brothers, and they were all trying to teach me a lesson. You know, I'd turn around a corner at a new city and somebody would attack me. So by the end of the tour, I had all these bruises on me and stuff, but I could almost hold my own.
Violence and violent images permeate more and more aspects of our lives. And I think it's time to draw the line.
The violence in the game was like the #1 thing that I had to combat against. And when I was doing my promo work with the radio stations, the television stations, the newspapers, the magazines, everything, that was like the first thing they ask me. Like, what do you think about the violence in this game? And what do you think about little kids and all that stuff? And my go-to would always be, it's martial arts. You know, if you put your kid, if you let your kid play this game and they want to get into martial arts, it's going to teach them nothing but discipline, you know, respect, and all that stuff that martial arts brings. So I really didn't care about the violence in the game, just because it was just so far-fetched. I mean, you can't rip somebody's head off and have the spine come out and stuff. Now it's really realistic. Now it's almost scary. But back then it was just so far-fetched. It's like, hey, we're teaching the kids martial arts. I think that the tour was after MK3, and then we did MK4. MK4 didn't take that much at all. I think that was just skins. They just used me for skins for that. They already had the motion capture stuff, and I don't think it was a woman. I think it was a guy for most of the stuff. And they just had me come in and take pictures, and then peeled me off there and put me on the model. Yeah, as stuff started evolving, it was kind of sad, because the fans really liked having people as the characters. And I mean, to this day, it's like nostalgia, you know. I think that's why, you know, my picture blew up 25 years later, is because, you know, back then you have all these 14-year-olds, and that's their memories, and they look up to these people who are playing the characters, and they have somebody to look at, you know, and they have somebody to follow and remember. And then here, 25 years later, you know, for me to come back, all of a sudden it's like nostalgia. You know, it's them remembering their youth, their happiest times. So I got it totally. It was really cool. Throughout the years, since I had the costume on last, it was like I was 25 years old. I just finished the tour, and we did maybe a couple conventions after that, and I never put it on again. I just put it in the basement in a bin and never looked at it again. And I would have people ask me over and over throughout the years, the last 25 years, hey, can you put the costume on? I'm like, no. Especially after I had my 4 kids, I was like, I am not putting that costume back on. And it got to be where I was like, it kind of intimidated me, because, you know, a woman's body changes after you have kids and stuff. And I was the same weight, but it just didn't feel the same. So now we came up on 25 years, and I'm like, I just turned 50. If I'm gonna do it, it's now or never. So I talked to a couple of my girlfriends. They're like, yes, do it. And I said, okay, I'll do it. So I talked to a photographer who wanted to shoot it, and we did it. And I just did, like, put one photo out there with the kiss of death, and just to see what would happen, and it just blew up. I could not believe it. It was like nobody forgot me in the last 25 years. And it went viral, it went national. During the shoot, I was putting the costume on and doing my makeup, put my hair in a ponytail with the headband, and I put the headband on and I was like, oh my God. And my heart kind of started pounding a little bit, and I kind of got excited, and it was like, I had no idea this would affect me this way, because it was like all of a sudden, all these memories came rushing back of me being on tour, being in front of the camera, doing all this promo work for the game, the conventions, all that stuff, and all the attention that I got back then. And just putting on that headband, I was just like, it all just came rushing back, and I got kind of really excited. And then I walked out from the bathroom, and my girlfriend saw me, and she started clapping. She was like, oh. And then I got a little bashful. I was like, oh, I feel stupid. But as soon as I got back in front of the camera, it just all kind of clicked, and I just had a blast. It was fun. Kept everything that reminds me of my career, and I put it in this box. And then I have my costumes, and I think they're really dusty and dirty, but I don't care. Here's my album. This is something that I made when I was on tour. And see my backstage passes. But I have all these old pictures and stuff. Here's one, Polaroid of Mistress Helga. But these are pictures that I've done with. Here's Vallah going through the costuming and stuff. This is another game I did. I don't even remember what that was called. This is one of the conventions that we did. There's me and Rich. John. Anthony. I should post these. Just some promo stuff. Here's magazines that I've been in. All right. Femme fatale. Here's me doing a sidekick. Used to be able to get way up there. Not anymore. And these are all just like tour pictures and a lot of stuff like that. Ooh. A poster. Remember this game? Music is the weapon. After the tour, I moved back home, and then I started having kids. And my first two kids that I had were twins, and they were 2.5 months early. So they ended up having cerebral palsy, very severe cerebral palsy. So they're in wheelchairs and G-tube fed, and I didn't want somebody taking care of them. I wanted to do it myself. So I quit everything and just decided to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of them, because their medical needs were just so severe that I didn't have time for it, because everything was so intense with medical stuff. I didn't think about modeling at all. I was just trying to, keep them alive. And then 2.5 years later, I had another son. And then 2.5 years later after that, I had a daughter. So, for 5-6 years there, I was just having babies and trying to keep everything together. And it just kind of gave me perspective too. That's what was more important to me, life. I mean, you can be off, in California doing shoots and everybody loves you and stuff, but it really hit home with me when there was these 2 babies that would not survive without me, and still to this day, they're 23 years old and they still depend on me for survival. And sometimes it gets pretty scary, with their condition and stuff, but we're still surviving. 2007, I got diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos type 3, which is a connective tissue disorder. It's like everything likes to stretch, but it doesn't like to stretch back. That's why I've always been so flexible. It's why I had my twins too early. It was just undiagnosed at the time because it's like 1 in 10,000 people. It's kind of rare. So after I got diagnosed with that, I had to quit running because I was getting injured all the time. So I had to think of something to do, and I decided to start painting. And lo and behold, it was like this kid just sitting down to a piano and knowing how to play it. I just knew how to paint, and I knew how to mix the colors. And I started out with realism, and it was just really, really excited me, and I kept up with it. And, here we are 8 years later, and, it's going really strong. I'm working full-time as an artist now.